Hi guys, so it's Tuesday. I'm just putting my boots on. I've just got home from work and I've come home a little bit early because I booked a vet visit. Our vet's coming out to see us. As you will know, we are looking at using our Billy, Sid, as a stud goat. We'd like to stud him out. Well, one of the things that we need to do in order to do that and to make sure that basically there's a disease that is in about 0.5% of goats in the UK, and it's called CAE, which is caprine arthritis encephalitis. I think that's how you pronounce it. And basically it's quite a devastating disease. There's no cure and there's no getting over it. Once your goats have it, then they stay infected. It causes all sorts of problems, joint problems and hard udders and things like that. There was a time in the 1980s when it was so prevalent in some parts of Europe, I think particularly in France, when it was absolutely devastating to a lot of commercial herds, and some commercial herds had infection rates as high as 100%, which, you know, the only cure is culling. So why am I talking about this? Well, I don't want to introduce that disease into my herd, and as a result, we're going to basically state that anyone who, you know, would like to hire Sid must have an up-to-date CAE certificate, which is, you know, a fairly common thing. The test costs peanuts. It's £9 to get Sid tested, and it would actually be a little bit cheaper per goat if we were having more done. But the only reason we're not having the other guys done is because they're so close to kidding, and you know, we don't want to put them under any additional pressure than we need to. So we're just going to have Sid done for the moment, because it's a little bit unreasonable of me, I think, to say to someone else, you've got to have an up-to-date certificate to say your goats are clear of CAE, but we don't. So I'm making sure that we've got one for Sid. And, you know, going forward, I think that we'll just annually do it for all our goats. It's really inexpensive. So the vet's coming out to do that. Now, while she's here, we're going to have a quick look at Fern's bow leg. Hopefully it won't be anything serious, but obviously I'd far rather the vet had a look and let me know. So the only other thing that I'm going to be going through with the vet is annual vaccines. Now, we are a little bit behind. With COVID and everything else last year, I completely forgot their boosters last summer, so they're about 6 months out of date. So what we're doing now is we're going to restart everyone. So rather than the annual booster, we're going to give everyone the full double shot. So we're all used to talking about vaccines these days, aren't we? And we're going to use Heptivac C, which is the one that my vet recommends. It protects against 7 different things, the common ones that animals get, and it works on the goats and the sheep. And we're going to treat it as if it's their first time having it. It's not. We have them done every year, but for, you know, whatever reason, we slipped up and forgot to do it about 6 months ago. So we're going to do them as if we were doing them for the first time. So just like when we get our vaccines, you give them one shot, and then a few weeks later, 4 or 5 weeks later, you give them a second one, and then they're covered. And then after that, it's a one-shot annual vaccine. Well, that's the one I've missed out. So we're going to go back to 2 shots. Now, if I hadn't forgotten, and they had full immunity, full coverage, then they transfer some of that into their kids. Whether that's done in the gestation period or through the milk, I'm not 100% sure. Generally speaking, if we were up to date and I hadn't slipped up, we would only need to give them one shot. And that would be, you know, after the kids were born, we'd give them one shot. But what we're going to do is, again, because we don't want to put them under stress right now, we don't believe that first shot, because they're due to kid in just a few days, that first shot may not transfer enough protection into the kids. So we're going to wait, because you can give the kids their first shot when they're just 4 or 5 weeks old. So in about 5 or 6 weeks, we should be giving them all, including the kids, their first shot and then their booster a few weeks after that. So right now, we're just waiting for the vet. And Sid is being particularly rambunctious today, and I'd like him to calm down a little bit. In fact, while I'm out here for a bit, what I might do is separate him out into that other paddock at the other end, or the other side of the fence in this paddock, because I've been meaning to just test out how good that'll be at separating him. I know that I could separate Fern and I believe the other goats, and certainly Rhubarb with that intermediate fencing. But Sid, I'm not sure, because as I said, he is quite rambunctious. But luckily, he's going to... he's in such a playful mood. But he's pretty easy to grab hold of. So, come on, son. We're just going to pop in the other side of this gate, close it up, and have a look and see how that fares. Right, you stay out there a sec, mate. There we go. So we're just going to test the effectiveness of this fence, which was only ever a thrown up thing. But we'll test the effectiveness of it and see how well it serves to separate him from the girls. This has obviously seen better days. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take it down, I'm going to take the fabric off, and hopefully either my wife or myself or my mother-in-law, who I'm sure would be able to, she's a bit of a dab hand at the old sewing, will be able to just fashion a replacement cover, because I use this, that's our milking stand there, and I use this, you can see it was tied just to that post. Use this when it's raining and we're milking, and that makes it a little bit more comfortable for me and the girls. So I'm going to take this down now and take the fabric off, and hopefully, like I say, I'll be able to get something fashioned to replace it. You know, I think I could even do it myself if I had to. I need to find some waterproof fabric, so maybe an old fly sheet or something from a tent might do the job. I wonder how long it's been like this. Right. Okay, so the vet's here, and we're just going to start doing everything now. I'll catch up with you in a bit. So we've just taken a blood sample from Sid, and the vet's gone to get a little bit of wire, because Fern's also got, and I've asked the vet to have a look at it because it's easier for her to do it than us. Normally my wife and I do it. She's got a little horn that kind of, she would have had her horns treated when she was a kid so that they didn't grow, but they did a pretty awful job. And one of them still kind of grows in this weird, deformed way, and it kind of grows in onto her head. I think I've mentioned it before. And normally my wife and I just take a hacksaw blade and we trim it off. But while the vet's here, she's going to quickly do it for me now with me. So that's what we're going to do next. And then we've had a quick look at Fern's leg where it's bowing out, and I think we're going to splint it as well. We don't think, or rather the vet doesn't think, that it's kind of significant insofar as it's symptomatic of anything more serious, but we're going to see if we've got something we can just splint it with to give her a chance of it recovering. Of course. Right, so the vet's just left, and she spent a minute walking around and checking out our other animals. It's always nice. So I never pretend to be an expert. My wife's got more experience with animals than I have, but neither of us would say, am I right, love, in saying this? Neither of us would say we're the experts. So it's nice when we've got an expert here to, you know, have them take a look around and just check that everything's right. So
Nice to know you're not missing something, isn't it?
yeah. So a good example of this, so I obviously trim the feet on our goats and sheep, and in the back of my head, because I've only been shown a couple of times, in the back of my head, I've got a goat chewing on my coat here, in the back of my head was a worry that I was doing something wrong with her feet, and perhaps that's what had caused the issue. And it's a huge relief to me to have the vet come check her feet, and you know, I asked the question, is there anything I'm doing that could be contributing to this? And she said, no, you know, what you're doing is great. So that's a huge weight off my mind personally. So their feet look good, and what ultimately we think the issue is, so if we have a look, Fern, she's not going to look up because she's not a dog. She's probably had enough fiddling with. But you can see there, she's now got a splint on, and we made that splint out of some old pipe that I had. The vet didn't have any splints with her, so we used some old plumbing pipe, some about, I think, 2-inch round pipe, cut it in half, and that's the splint. And that's really what the vet decided was the best thing to do. We don't know what exactly it is, but she said it's most likely just a combination of the extra weight she's carrying, plus around the time that they're about to give birth, they're going to kick out loads of hormones designed to relax up all of their joints and ligaments and stuff. So we think that's what it is. The idea is we're going to keep that splint on up until and a couple of weeks after she kids, and hopefully things will just return to normal. If not, then, you know, it's just one of those things that might be coming with age, or, you know, we just don't know. But ultimately, it's not indicative of anything more serious. That's the main thing. You know, the vet had a good feel around the legs, and as far as we can tell, there's no issues. The vet also said that we should change it every week, at least for the time being. You know, every week, take it off, put a new dressing on the inside of the splint. I've got some of that she's left with me, and someone wants some attention now. And look, here's the other big brave soldier. We had to take some blood for his test, his CAE test, and made a bit of a mess, but he's no worse off for it. Look, he's quite happy. We'll be getting the results within a week or so, which is really important, so I can get him studied out, because we need to get you away from those girls. So yeah, really good, really happy. One of the things I definitely 100% recommend if you're going to get animals, if you're going to get bigger animals in particular, if you're going to get any animals, but if you're going to get bigger animals particularly, is to make sure that you have a vet on hand, that you have a relationship with a vet that is going to be on call and, you know, really knows about farm animals. Because it's a completely different ball game to, you know, the other types of vets that you might use. They're used to dealing with commercial farmers, so their prices are usually very, very reasonable, and, you know, they know the kinds of problems that you're going to face, and they're used to people like you and me calling them and asking them. So the beauty of this is, you know, obviously I've paid for this vet visit. Of course I have. And the last one I paid for was 2 years ago when we had to put down one of our goats. But in the meantime, the vet who came, her name's Katie, and she's from a reasonably sized local practice, but I've got her mobile number, and she's quite happy to answer things over the phone, and, you know, I don't get charged. So having a relationship with a vet is super important, I think, and not only will it give you peace of mind, but it's also going to actually give you access to that service that you will need at some point. And, you know, over time as well, you'll find a vet that you trust and that you can rely on. So yeah, I can't speak highly enough of the service we get. I really can't. She had a walk round, and it was nice that she commented on how much we've achieved in the last couple of years since she was here last, and how the place looks very, very different. She had a look at our pigs and some of our hens, and yeah, so there we go. So that was on our vet trip. We've got to wait a week for the results for Sid, and of course I will let you know what they are when that comes back. But all in all, I'm going to bed quite happy this evening that, you know, again, we're doing everything we need to be doing to make sure the welfare of our animals is paramount. So thanks everyone for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.